environment in this country. For that and more, we turn now to the analysis of Brooks and Capehart. That is New York Times columnist David Brooks and Jonathan Capehart of MSNBC. Great to see you both.
Hey,
So let's just start with the fact that Charlie Kirk was
So let's just start with the fact that Charlie Kirk.
那么，咱们就从查理·科克这个人说起吧。
an undeniable political force.
Was an undeniable political force, right?
Right, had incredible influence over a new generation of young conservative men in particular.
Had incredible influence over a new generation of young conservative men in particular.
尤其是对我们新一代的年轻保守派男性产生了巨大影响。
His death, you've probably both seen. I mean, former presidents have weighed in. It is being reported on overseas. I was watching BBC today. It was wall to wall.
It is being reported on overseas. I was watching BBC today. It was wall to wall.
这件事在海外有相关报道。我今天看了英国广播公司的节目，满眼都是战事新闻。
About coverage of his killing and the arrest of the alleged gunman here. There's a
About coverage of his killing and the arrest of the alleged gunman here.
关于他勇敢自卫反抗枪杀事件，以及涉嫌开枪者在此地被捕的情况。
sense, David, that this marks something different and notable in our nation?
This marks something different and notable in our nation.
这在我国标志着一些不同寻常且值得关注的事情。
Do you believe that?
Yeah, I do. Another step. You know, in the hours after Kirk was killed, I started getting emails and texts from my friends who are supporters of the president.
I started getting emails and texts from my friends who were supporters of the president.
我开始收到支持总统的朋友们发来的电子邮件和短信。
And a couple of them said independently, "This is our George Floyd."
And a couple of them said independently, "This is our George Floyd."
有几个人都不约而同地说，这就是我们的乔治·弗洛伊德事件。
And they didn't mean that literally, but in terms of emotional reaction into how gutted.
But in terms of emotional reaction into how gutted they are.
但就他们内心遭受重创的情绪反应而言，
They were. And they just felt just something really terrible has happened. Another emailed me that
They just felt that just something really terrible has happened.
他们只是觉得发生了极其糟糕的事情。
there's no coming back from this.
There's no coming back from this.
情况已经无法挽回了。
And I think what they meant by that, and I had a later conversation, they see in their own lives, as I think we all do, 23-year-old young men who have turned nihilists.
Young men turned nihilist.
Who just don't, they're lonely, their whole life is on Discord or whatever.
Who just don't, they are lonely. Their whole life is on Discord or whatever.
那些人就是如此，他们很孤独，他们的整个生活都一团糟，或者别的什么情况。
And they've turned, believe in nothing, nothing to lose, hatred.
They have turned not to believe in nothing, nothing to lose, hatred.
他们已经变成了这样，他们已经变得什么都不信，没有什么可失去的了，满心怨恨。
I would recommend a book to capture the moment. It just came out a week ago, and obviously it was written before the killing, by a guy named Bill Galston, who's probably been on the show multiple times, works at the Brookings Institution.
Who's probably been on the show multiple times, works at a Brookings Institution.
那个人可能多次上过这个节目，在一家经纪机构工作。
And it came out just a week ago. It's called Anger, Fear, and Hatred.
And it came out just a week ago. It's called Anger, Fear, and Hatred.
他就在1周前发布了，它叫《愤怒、恐惧与仇恨》。
Or and domination, anger, fear, and
And domination.
或者还有统治。
domination. And it's about the dark passions. We all need to be motivated by something.
We all need to be motivated by something.
我们都需要有某种东西来激励自己。
And good leaders were motivated by what you might call the bright passions.
What you might call the bright passions.
也就是你所谓的积极向上的激情。
Hope, aspiration, a vision of a better life.
Hope, aspiration, a vision of a better life.
希望、抱负，以及我们对美好生活的憧憬。
But people have discovered that it's more powerful to motivate people with the dark passion.
But people have discovered that it's more powerful to motivate people with a dark passion.
但人们发现，用一种消极的激情来激励他人，效果往往更为显著。
Like anger, hatred, resentment, and the urge to dominate.
Like anger, hatred, resentment, and the urge to dominate.
比如愤怒、仇恨、怨恨，以及掌控他人的冲动。
And this has been true of politicians in both parties. I had a very poignant conversation a decade ago.
I had a very poignant conversation a decade ago.
10年前，我进行了一场令人感触颇深的对话。
Now with a Democratic ad maker who said, I want to elect Democrats.
Now with a Democratic ad maker who said, I want to elect Democrats.
现在和一位民主党广告制作人聊了聊，他说我想让民主党人当选。
But every ad I make is about anger and fear and hatred.
I make ads about anger and fear and hatred.
我制作有关愤怒、恐惧和仇恨的广告。
And so I feel like I'm part of the problem.
And so I feel like I'm part of the problem.
所以我觉得自己也是问题的一部分。
And the thing about the dark passions, they're imperialistic. They're like cancer. Once
And the thing about the dark passions, they are imperialistic, they are like cancer.
而那些阴暗的情绪，它们极具扩张性，就像癌细胞一样。
they get in you and in the body politic, they tend to spread.
Getting you and in the body politics, they tend to spread.
一旦侵入你以及整个群体，就会开始扩散。原句 Get in you and in the body politics, they turn to spread.
And it's super hard to turn that around.
And it's super hard to turn that around.
而要扭转这种局面极其困难。
Jonathan?
This has been a tough week.
Yeah.
This has been a tough week.
这是艰难的一周。
The killing of someone that prominent should shock the senses of everyone.
The killing of someone that's prominent should shock the senses of everyone.
杀害知名人士的行为理应震惊每一个人。
I think Governor Cox of Utah has been superb in speaking to our better angels.
I think Governor Cox of Utah has been super in speaking to our better angers.
我认为犹他州州长考克斯在诉诸我们更美好的本性方面做得非常出色。
In trying to lower the temperature of the rhetoric, of trying to remind us of who we are.
In trying to lower the temperature of the rhetoric, of trying to remind us of who we are.
他试图缓和言辞的激烈程度，提醒我们认清自己的本质。
As a nation and who we are as a people, and trying to get us back to being able to
As a nation and who we are as a people, and trying to get us back to being able to disagree.
作为一个国家，作为一个民族，并且努力让我们重新能够做到求同存异。
disagree without being, not only without being disagreeable, but without being murderous.
Not only without being disagreeable, but without being murderous.
不仅不吵得面红耳赤，更不会发展到你死我活的地步。
But I don't know if this is going to be the inflection point that a lot of people wonder that.
But I don't know if this is going to be the inflection point that a lot of people wonder.
但我不知道这是否会成为很多人所期待的转折点。
It will be because it's so heinous. The video that a lot of people got to see.
It will be because it's so heinous, the video that a lot of people got to see.
它会成为转折点的，因为很多人看到的那视频实在是太恶劣了。
whether they wanted to or not, makes this unlike anything we've seen in a long time.
Whether they wanted to or not, makes this unlike anything we have seen in a long time.
不管人们愿不愿意看到，这都与我们长期以来所看到的情况截然不同。
But I remember being on set of an MSNBC show in December of 2012. What I'm thinking of.
But I remember being on set of an MSNBC show in December of 2012. What I'm thinking of.
但我记得2012年12月，我曾上过《赛克拉外秀》，这档节目在微软全国广播公司播出，那就是我此刻想到的事情。
Of Sandy Hook. And what was so jarring about Sandy Hook was that we saw a story of not just a school shooting.
What's so jarring about Sandy Hook was that we saw a story of not just a school shooting.
桑迪胡克小学枪击案令人震惊之处在于，我们看到的不仅仅是一起校园枪击案，更是一个事件。
But a school shooting in an elementary school with young children.
But a school shooting in an elementary school with young children.
你提供的句子存在重复啰嗦。
We all thought as a nation that this is the moment that something will happen on this particular.
We all thought as a nation that this is the moment that something will happen on this particular.
作为一个国家，我们都认为在这一特殊时刻应当有所行动了。
Issue gun violence, and yet nothing happened.
On gun violence, and yet nothing happened.
关于枪支暴力问题，然而却什么都没有改变。
Nothing's changed. And here we are yet again.
Nothing changed, and here we are yet again.
原句语法有误 ，Nothing changed.
And in a situation where we're talking about an incident of gun violence.
In a situation where we are talking about an incident of gun violence.
在我们谈论一起枪支暴力事件的情况下，
But because of who the victim was, just in terms of our politics, but also who he was in terms of the president and this administration. This is one thing that I have to factor in to my thinking.
This is one thing that I have to factor into my thinking.
原句存在语法错误 ，have
About all this when I look at the reaction from the president and his administration.
All this when I look at the reaction from the president and his administration.
原句 administration 拼写错误，多余了符号，修改后翻译如下：当我看到总统及其政府对此的反应时，所有这一切。
That this wasn't just the murder of someone who was a like-minded person.
This wasn't just the murder of someone who was a like-minded person.
第二句有语法错误，正确的句子应该是 This wasn't just a matter of someone who was like-minded。翻译，这不仅仅是一个志同道合之人的问题。
This was family to them, and I try to keep that in mind as
This was family to them, and I try to keep that in mind as I watch.
对他们来说，这就是家人，而我在工作时努力牢记这一点。
I watch the reaction, but I have to tell you, I am very concerned about what that reaction is going to be in the days and weeks and months ahead.
What that reaction is going to be in the days and weeks and months ahead.
在未来数天、数周以及数月里，那种反应会是怎样的呢？
Well, let's talk about that for just a second. In terms of the reaction from the president, David, you've seen the president first say that his supporters should respond with nonviolence.
His supporters should respond with non-violence.
他的支持者应该以非暴力的方式回应。
That's what Charlie would have wanted. The next moment, he's blaming the radical left political violence.
The next moment, he is blaming the radical left political violence.
紧接着就是指责激进左派的政治暴力行为。
There's people around him now even suggesting that they should be.
There's people around him now even suggesting that they should be.
现在他身边甚至有人暗示他们就应该这样做。
Deporting people who are critical of Charlie Kirk after his killing, but
Deporting people who are critical of Charlie Kirk after his killing.
在查理·科克遇害后，驱逐那些批评他的人。
in the context of the country they're speaking to, just take a look at this poll we pulled up from April of 2025. PRI asked people if true American patriots may have to resort to
True American patriots may have to resort to violence in order to save our country.
为了拯救我们的国家，两位美国爱国者可能不得不诉诸暴力。
violence in order to save our country. Basically, what's your view of political violence? 81%, the overwhelming majority of Americans, 81% said no. They disagreed with that sentiment. Slightly more Republicans, 18%, would agree with it than Democrats at 11%. But that is the environment we're in right now.
But that is the environment we are in right now.
但这就是我们目前所处的环境。
Let's say to you about whether or not we'll see more political violence ahead.
Whether or not we'll see more political violence ahead.
未来我们是否会看到更多的政治暴力事件？
Yeah, it only takes a few, right? It only takes a few young men like
It only takes a few, right? It only takes a few young men like that.
只需要几个人，对吧？只需要几个像这样的年轻人，
young men who tried to kill Trump, the person who killed the Minnesota speaker.
The young man who tried to kill Trump, the young person who killed the Minister Speaker.
那个试图杀害汤姆的年轻人，还有那个杀害议长的年轻人。
And the guy who killed Charlie Kirk.
And then the guy who killed Charlie Kirk.
然后还有那个杀了查理·科克的家伙。
But the reaction, I have to say, I've been appalled by some of the reactions of few, including the president's. But I have to say, I've been sort of impressed.
But I have to say I have been sort of impressed.
但我得说，我还是有点 impressed.
Well, on the whole, I think a lot of people in various political stripes who really disagreed with Charlie Kirk.
I think a lot of people in various political stripes who really disagreed with Charlie Kirk.
我认为很多持不同政治立场的人其实都不太认同查理·科克。
Have been pretty noble about this, about seeing past politics into a human life.
Have been pretty noble about this, about seeing past politics into a human life.
在这件事上表现得相当高尚，能够超越政治，看到我们人类的生命。
Into a Christian, into a family man, like just seeing this is a boat we're all in.
Into a Christian, into a family man, like just seeing this is a boat we are all in.
看到他是一个基督徒，看到他像贾斯汀那样是个居家好男人，这是我们所有人都置身其中的一条船。
And I've seen that across the political divide.
And I have seen that across the political divide.
而且我在政治分歧的各方都看到了这点。
And when I've looked at the Republican reaction, the overwhelming majority has been.
I looked at the Republican reaction. The overwhelming majority has been.
我留意了共和党人的反应，绝大多数反应一直都是。
You know, he was talking to people. He was talking to people he disagreed with. And that's instructive to us.
He was talking to people. He was talking to people he disagreed with. And this instructive to us.
他当时在和与自己意见相左的人交谈，这对我们很有启发。
There's a moment, Thomas Hobbes, the philosopher, said fear can sometimes be used for good.
There's a moment, Thomas Hobbes, philosopher, said fear can sometimes be used for good.
有这样一个时刻，哲学家托马斯·霍布斯说过，恐惧有时可以被善加利用。
When you become so afraid that your society is slipping into chaos, then you're jolted out of your bad habits. And maybe this will be a moment for this. It really takes an act of heroism to get out of the dark passion doom loop. There has to be a moment of interruption.
To get out the dark passion doom loop, there has been a moment of interruption.
为了摆脱那种狂热愤怒的恶性循环，出现过片刻的中断。
Where you say, no, I'm stopping this. I'm not partaking. I will respond to hatred with love.
where you say no, I'm stopping this, I'm not partaking. I will respond to hatred with love.
在这种时刻，你会说不，我要停止这样的行为，我不会参与其中，我会用爱来回应仇恨。
And of course, the ultimate example of this is the civil rights movement.
And of course, the ultimate example of this is the civil rights movement.
当然，这方面最典型的例子就是民权运动。
Where Martin Luther King preached a gospel of love, and in an aggressive way that was going to force the sin.
Martin Luther King preached a gospel of love, and in an aggressive way that was all going to force the things.
马丁·路德·金大力宣扬爱的信条，坚信这能推动事情往好的方向发展。
Of society into the faces of people and make them see, is this who we are?
Of society into the faces of people and make them see, is this who we are?
将社会的现实摆在人们面前，让他们审视，这就是我们想要成为的模样吗？
And so I don't know if this will be a turning point where people will make that interruption and halt the cycle.
This will be a turning point where people will make that interruption and halt the cycle.
这将是一个转折点，届时人们会采取这种打断行为，并举起标语牌。
So far, I felt it's been a moment, with a few exceptions, of coming together.
But so far, I felt it's been a moment with a few exceptions of coming together.
到目前为止，我觉得这是一个大家团结在一起的时刻，不过也有一些例外情况。
Could I just say that in your example, David,
Can I just say that in your example, David?
大卫，我能不能就在你的例子里谈谈看法呢？
with the civil rights movement and Dr. King and all those marchers,
With the civil rights movement and Dr. King and all those marchers.
就民权运动、金博士以及所有那些游行者而言，
they had an ally in the president who was there to, break the passions and to lead.
They had an ally in the president who was there to break the passions and to lead.
他们在总统那里有一个盟友，总统在那里消解人们的激昂情绪，并起到引领作用。
And here, when it comes to what you were just saying, I am not convinced that our
And here, when it comes to what you were just saying, I'm not convinced that our current.
而说到你刚才所讲的内容，我并不认为我们
current president is the one who's going to be able to do that.
The current president is the one who's going to be able to do that.
现任总统才是那个有能力做到这一点的人。
And even though we don't have kings in this country, we have always looked to our presidents as moral exemplars, as
We have always looked to our present as moral exemplars.
这句话语法有误，正确的句子应该是 We have always looked
especially in moments like these, in moments of national trauma.
Especially in moments like these, in moments of national trauma.
尤其是在这样的时刻，在国家遭受创伤的时刻。
And right now, I'm not sure President Trump is capable or willing to show that kind of leadership.
Capable or willing to show that kind of leadership.
有能力或愿意展现出那样的领导力。
Fair point.
In the minute or so we have left, then, Jonathan, I'll just follow up. If not from the president himself, because we've seen mixed messages even in this last 2 days or so, where does the message have to come from? What has to happen to reach this inflection point you've both noted is necessary in this country?
We need more Governor Coxes. We need more people like him in high position.
We need more Governor Coxes. We need more people like him in high positions.
我们需要更多像考克斯州长这样的人，我们需要更多像他这样的人担任高级职务。
Especially in high positions of leadership, executive leadership.
Especially in high positions of leadership, executive leadership.
尤其是在高层领导岗位、行政领导岗位上。
Who step out and do what Governor Cox has done.
Step out and do what Governor Cox has done.
站出来效仿考克斯州长的所作所为。
If we haven't seen it fully and consistently from the president, then we need to see it from governors, we need to see it from mayors, we need to see it from members of Congress, we need to see it from the speaker, the majority leader of the Senate. We need to see it from and hear it from leaders up and down the chain on both sides of the aisle, just to finally say, okay, look, we can't keep going down this road, because if we do, the slide that a lot of people feel that we're on will be inexorable.
The slide that a lot of people feel that we are on will be inexorable.
很多人觉得我们正在经历的下滑趋势将会难以阻挡。
And I'm not, I as fearful as I am praying that that leaders will lead.
And I'm not as fearful as I am. I'm praying that leaders will lead.
而我尽管心怀忧虑，却仍在虔诚祈祷，祈求领导者们能够肩负起领导职责。
Here's to that prayer and hopefully better days ahead.
Here's to that prayer and hopefully better days ahead.
为此祈祷， 希望未来会有更美好的日子。
Jonathan Capehart, David Brooks, thank you so much.
Thanks.
There were 150 politically motivated attacks in the US during the first half of 2025, nearly twice as many as in the same period last year.
2025年上半年，美国发生了150起出于政治动机的袭击事件，几乎是去年同期的2倍。